Hi, I'm Yetta Dekker, and today I have an amazing guest of mine. It is Nina. Hi, Nina.
Hello, Yetta. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. And I know you're loving this opportunity, and we are loving it at least as much as you are, maybe more. Nina is one of our, as we say all the time, favorite clients. We have so many favorites, and so like our kids used to do this thing. Actually, they're still doing this thing. Would you believe my children are still trying to figure out who the actual first favorite is?
Okay.
Just yesterday, my son said, you know, Candace is still having those conversations with me, and it drives her crazy when she thinks I'm the favorite. And I said, you've got to be kidding. You're both my favorite. You're my favorite son. She's my favorite daughter. Amber's my favorite daughter-in-law, and Sasha's my favorite son-in-law. So you guys can stop the squabbling, right?
Yep.
So absolutely one of our favorites. So thank you, Nina.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
And so we want to share a little bit with you about Nina's experience, her family, how they came to know us, and what it was like for them. And the reason we share that with you is because your family may be similar to their family. And so maybe in hearing their story, you may be in a similar situation to what they were in. And then you get a chance to know what it's like if you haven't had the opportunity for us to help you. Is that right?
Right.
That's kind of why we decided to have this conversation, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
And so why the Dekker Team? How did that even happen?
Well, this is a long story. I'll try to piece it down as best I can.
Fair enough. So knowing that this goes back almost 3 years.
Yes.
When I had that first fateful conversation with your mother.
Yes.
Okay.
It started back when we, knew the Lord was guiding us to move to Ottawa, and just how was that going to work? And Mom had come and met someone and was given the name of the Dekker Teams. And so Mom connected with you.
And if I recall right, your mom was in the far East End at the church that she was thinking that you guys were going to be moving here to be part of.
Yes.
And she connected with one of our clients that actually lives in the far South End.
Absolutely.
Who happened to be in the church that day ministering.
Yes. And who Mom spoke to, and who asked if we had Christian real estate agents. And Mom said, no, but I would love to connect with that. And she gave us your name, and it's been a match made in heaven ever since.
It was, wasn't it?
It was.
And so why were you moving?
We were moving because we felt the Lord was directing us. We're originally from a very small northern community, and there was more opportunity here, and God was directing us here to join up with another body of believers of the same faith. So just to be able to help us grow and move forward.
Okay.
And my kids were getting a little older too, so it'll be closer when they're ready to take the next steps after high school. So it just was time to move forward.
Right. And you came with your husband and 2 children?
Eventually.
Okay. So now you go ahead and share that.
So when we felt, this is where the Lord is moving us, I applied for a job because people were telling me it's Ottawa. It's going to take a while to get a job. Applied for a job, and the minute I pushed send on the resume, I felt like I had jumped off a cliff. And I've said that all the way through.
Yeah.
And I just knew that I was falling, didn't know the journey that was ahead of us, but knew that I was in God's hands, and so He'd take us where we needed to be. And so I got that job. And so
the one job
I applied for.
One job. So one introduction to your mom from one person that she met.
Yes.
To one realtor, a team of realtors, and yet one real estate team.
Yep.
One resume, one job, one job offer.
Yep.
Okay. That sounds almost magical, doesn't it? Well, it doesn't stay like that though.
No.
Okay.
So accepted the job because said, felt the Lord was guiding us to where we'd need to be. So took the job. However, we were trying to sell our house up north at the same time.
Not moving too quick.
And so I needed to come because I was starting work in 2 weeks from the job interview. So again, the Lord opened the door, had a phone call from one of my husband's relatives that lives up here in Ottawa, and said they would love it if I would stay with them for a while until I get somewhat settled. So we did that. I came up here and ended up staying in the Orleans area for a few months. And the house was still not selling. So I'll just try and skip. So I was here by myself, and my husband and children stayed up north.
to keep working and keep doing what needed to
Well,
be done.
right,
and going
because
to
we
school
could
and-
not, we didn't have the means to have the house and still be paying the house up north
Yes.
and then get a rent up here.
Right.
So left that in God's hands. Sounds so much easier now than it
does,
was.
doesn't it? Because I know we've been journeying
not that
really
easy.
together since. I mean, I
Yes.
remember that very first phone call.
Yes.
After we connected with your mom, I had a great chat with her and figured out what was going on for them and when they wanted to come, and they had a home to sell too.
Yeah.
And then to come relocate. And then she said, and then there's my daughter and her husband and the 2 kids. I said, perfect. So we had a great, probably almost an hour long phone consultation just on the phone to understand what was going on for them, what the timeline looked like. And the answer to the timeline question was, we have
don't
no
know.
idea. And at that point, there wasn't even a job resume. There hadn't
No.
even been, that was even pre all of that. And yet laid out sort of what the process would look like, assured them that we would move at their pace.
Yes.
And that became really important, didn't it?
It did.
To move at your pace.
Yes. But you were still always there. We could
Yeah.
always call if we had questions.
Yeah.
And even selling our house up north was a challenge. Yeah. And there was a few times that, I called who I was connected with here on the Dekker team for advice about that one. We had a wonderful real estate agent up north, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But just not sharing that faith, right? So, and I really valued the opinion of the Dekker team. And so I making calls and saying, should I do this? Should we do that? What should we do? So it's been a long journey. And when I was here and Mom was looking, I was working with the real estate agent, helping Mom at the time, and seeing houses for them here. And they were
that was
going,
Candace or Ryan?
It was Ryan. At the
Ryan.
time.
So the whole team has gotten involved. So that's how long the journey's been. And that's actually kind of cool because we're quite interchangeable.
Yes.
Right? We attempt to keep consistency as much as possible. And yet with a really long journey at times, especially, you don't know who's available what day. And when the right house comes up, the beautiful thing is someone's available.
Yes.
Right? So Ryan absolutely adores your mom and dad. And I think they adore him.
My mom, I don't know if I should say this, but my mom always calls him her little sweetheart.
Well, he's sometimes my little sweetheart, and sometimes he's not such a little sweetheart. But anyway, I can appreciate that your mom really sees him that way, and he is that way.
Yes. And she's really enjoyed that journey with him to get to their house.
Yes.
So now
and so they got settled
before we did.
Oh, I know that.
Way before we did.
I know, way before you did. And they're loving it.
They are.
Okay.
And we actually, so it's actually going to be 2 years in April now that my family is here and where we are now, all together.
Yeah.
So the Lord took care of me, helping me along there. And then we took another step of faith, lots of steps of faith in this journey, but just trusting that God was there with us. Took an apartment, hoping the house would sell
up north.
Yeah. So we took the apartment for a while. My husband was looking for a job. Another trial that we went through he didn't get a job as quickly as we were hoping. And we relied on God, and, we're just had times where we said, we're not going to be able to afford a house.
Right. I remember those conversations.
Yes. Because we had you guys were there the whole time. And because we'd call and say, we want to look at houses, but we haven't sold our house. And now we're just in a position where we can't move.
Yeah.
So, we just kept trusting God. And then we ended up moving in with my mom for a year. So we lived with Mom for a year. And then...
And Dad.
And Dad, yes. My parents.
We can't forget Dad.
No, sorry.
Because he plays a pretty important role in all of this too.
My parents. So we moved in with them for a year. And our house finally sold. 21 months it took to sell the house up north. And then was the journey of, now can we look for something up here? And then that's when, actually Candace is the one that connected with us through that. And that's been a roller coaster as well, going through looking for different houses. Because, of course, our budget was not where we wanted it to be.
Right. Or where it even started out to be.
Where it started out to be.
So
where it needed to be.
Well, where you wanted it to be. And yet what needed to be actually did happen.
Yes.
Right? So that's really cool that Candace And it's kind of amazing because she has more patience than anyone I know. And I don't think ever you would have felt anything except she was with you wherever you were.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. She was amazing. We love your family, but I have that special connection now with Candace, I feel.
Well, and she feels the same thing for you. I know even today with Nina and I being on the show together, Candace sort of said, well, can we not wait another time when I can be there and I can be part of the conversation with Nina? And unfortunately, Candace was not in town today. And for Nina, based on her work schedule, there wasn't a lot of opportunities because we don't record every day.
No.
And so with all of the different schedules, it was, you know what? We really believe Nina's story is something people will want to hear. And although Candace is sad, she's not the one sitting here, or at least one of the three with us as well.
Yes.
She absolutely wanted me to make sure I said to you that she loved working with you guys and counts you one of her favorites too. Like you're just part of the Dekker Team family.
Yes, and we feel the same about you guys. It's just one big family. And like I said, it's been ups and downs with Candace as well, right? She was showing us houses and, you know, we went through the what are we looking for in a house and what we need and whatnot. But even then, it's...
And then it changed.
And then it changed.
Right.
It changed. And
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of, if you allow me to share certain parts
please,
of it.
You go ahead.
In, mostly in June is the part I want to talk about, is in June we had looked, well, we were looking at different houses and some really funky houses. I've never seen designs like that before, but, and Candace was always very good to say, you know, is this really going to meet your needs? Is this what you're looking for? Just to be sure. And because we wanted this process to be moving along.
Yeah.
Right?
Because now the house is sold up north. You've been living with mom. We've been in apartments. We've been living separate from each other. If you're getting the picture, this is a 3-year journey, really.
Yeah. 2.5 years start to finish.
That's wild, right? So there's been so much upheaval.
Yes.
Right? Moving can be one of the biggest stresses in somebody's life. It's up there in the top 5. And can you imagine it being a 2.5-year process?
And from a small northern community of 4,000 people to the Ottawa area, it's like we really look like rednecks up here, right? When we first got here.
You're adorable. So what happened in June?
So in June we were looking at the different houses and the ones that were in our price range.
Yes.
At the time. So I had woke up one morning, we were going with Candace to see a couple properties, and I felt that the Lord had given me, though it tarry, wait for it, which is Habakkuk 2:3.
Right.
So I said, okay, Lord, what does that mean? Does that mean we've been waiting, we're there, this is the one? What does that mean? I can get nothing else after that. So we went to see the house. It was a fixer-upper. It was an as-is property.
Yeah. And as is simply means that it is generally owned by a bank or an institution or something where they're not going to warranty the property at all. And it's going to be sold in as is condition with no warranties. And we simply have to do our homework on the front end to make sure that it's a good, sound investment.
Right.
Right. Just because not everybody may know what as is, right?
Yes.
So
I've learned some of the lingo along.
Yeah, you're great. Yeah, so she sounds more like us, which is kind of funny, and I like it.
So we went to see this property, and I felt that the Lord had given me that word, but I didn't know what that would mean.
Right.
So we went to see it, and of course, every house we saw, we're like, oh, we can make this work. This can happen. But we'd always go back, and before we'd see a property and after, we would pray. Yeah. Like, I mean, this was not our journey. This was God bringing us on this journey. It really was him. And I knew that if he was bringing us from where we came to where we are, he had great things for us. It was going to be bigger, better than what we come from. But our current situation did not show that.
It didn't look like it.
It was going to be a miracle, right? And even our house selling up north was a miracle. I just want to backtrack a little to that. Because it was the worst economic times in Iroquois Falls. Our one industry had closed at Christmas. And our house still hadn't sold. So dealing with a lot of negativity, right? Saying, well, your house isn't going to sell now. And
so nobody even had confidence in it anymore.
No. And it was like, what are you going to do? Well, maybe you should declare bankruptcy. There was a lot of different things.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
I'm being
Yeah.
honestly, all these things were at play because it had been well over 2 years and well, no, it wasn't. Sorry. It was
That's okay.
21 months when it sold. But we were still, what are we going to do? And then it sold that spring after. So I had kept saying, well, the bigger the possibility of it selling, the greater the miracle and the more glory will go to God.
Right. The leaser the possibility of it selling.
The leaser the possibility.
Almost impossible. Actually, I would almost call it an impossible situation. And I don't like to ever go down that road with any of my clients. And yet there is the odd time where you go, how am I going to do that? Like, it's not up to me. And yet, what can we do? Like, what is not working here? What's going on? And that's really where you were at.
That's where we were at. Yeah. And we were working with our real estate agent up north. And that's when I would get some advice from the Dekker team just to try and see. But it was out of our hands. It was in God's hands.
So it sold in April.
It sold in April. So then we started looking. And then back to my story in June.
Yes.
Goodness gracious. So much I bounce around.
It's okay. Because it's nice for us to sort of recap now and then so you can get a flavor of the flow and also really the quite dire situation that you're sitting in.
Yeah.
Right? Like almost bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That people are coaching and counseling that. So it's also important to not have a lot of people speaking into your situation.
Right.
Get a few wise counselors. Trust the people that you're working with. I'd like to say that we're incredibly trustworthy and able to come alongside our clients no matter where they are in their process, in their journey. And because we are a team, it's not just one person's thought process.
No.
You're dealing with all of us coming together and collectively sharing what's going on for that client especially when it's a difficult situation.
Yes.
So June,
we're looking at this fixer upper. And part of me is like, God didn't bring us here to give us this, right? I felt like I was settling.
Right.
And I mean, we felt like Abraham through the whole journey, right? Coming to a place we don't know. We don't know where we're going. We're just going. But then we had that word and we looked at the house. And when we were coming out, the house beside that house was for sale as well. 2 properties for sale.
Yeah. Which the reason for that, and sort of cut you off, except I think this is so cool.
Okay.
Signs breed signs.
Yes.
And it seems like a strange thing to say, and yet it's lingo in the real estate industry because often where we have one sign, you know that 1, 2, or 3 neighbors in that immediate neighborhood are also going to be putting their home on the market. Yeah. And then there might not be anything in that community or that sort of that street or that little area for like 3 or 4 years. And yet when there seems to be lots of it. I don't understand it. And yet I see it again and again. So a house next door that was for sale.
Yes. Beautiful house. We're like, oh, wish we'd be looking at this house. And Candace had told me also, I want to show you this house. But when we looked at this other house and when we were coming out, because it was an as-is property, there was a gentleman coming out of the other house. She says, well, let's ask the neighbor if he knows anything about this property. And the gentleman comes out and he says, oh, I don't live here. I'm showing this house to my clients. He was the real estate agent. So he says, I really don't know anything about that property. So, okay, fair enough. So we left it at that. But we went home. We thought about it. We actually did put an offer in on that house because it was in our natural price range.
Right.
So we put an offer and then they came back and said, no, countered another offer a little higher. We came back with something else, but then they came back and said, the property's off the market. So the owner was able to reclaim his house.
Right.
So then after that, we said, okay, then that's not the one. And I mean, then there was others after that as well that we looked at, put offers in, but through God's guidance and through Candace directing us as well, we didn't. And so in November, she calls us and she says, remember that house, the neighbor? And I said, yeah, but it's not in our price range. We can't go see that one. She had called that real estate agent and she had asked how motivated were the sellers.
Yeah, because it wouldn't leave her either.
No.
Wouldn't leave you and it wouldn't leave her.
So we knew people had gone in and out of that house. We drove by there all the time, right?
Right.
And so she called them and she told them where we were at. And they said, well, come and see it. She says, well, we don't want to go if it's not,
Right. If we can't even get it
Don't
at that
tease
price,
me
let's
at
not
this
tease
point.
our client. Yeah, absolutely.
But they said to come and see it. So we did. We loved it. It was by far the one that would meet our needs the best.
Of everything you'd seen from the beginning.
Absolutely. Everything from the beginning. And so we said, we love this house. So we said, well, let's put an offer, as she had told them what our cap was, and went back and forth just twice. And then that's the house we have now. So the though it tarry, wait for it meant wait for the neighbor's house in a few months.
Isn't that incredible?
It is. And now, just a few days ago, that the neighbor's house is back on the market. Wasn't meant to be ours. We are very
and you didn't really want it. You were just feeling.
Didn't.
So sometimes and so it's hard here. We're building possibility in people's lives, and we want to create possibility and opportunity, and not always is it the one you want and is it the best ever, right?
No.
And yet what an amazing story to think that the waiting, the perseverance,
yes,
just the hearing what the Lord was saying, and then being willing to risk falling in love with their dream home and then not being able to have it, because there was no guarantees that even though verbally Candace had done the work and checked it out with the realtor and all of that it was actually going to come together.
Yeah. No, we didn't know, but we had left it in God's hands. We persevered through it. Oh, there was many times where like, that's it. Like, what are we doing here? This isn't going to work. But we just always came back to prayer, trusting God, believing that He brought us here. He'll bring us through to the end. And I mean, our journey continues, but now since November, we are settled in our home. And every day we thank God for the Dekker team to have helped us on this journey as well, and for where He has brought us today.
Because everybody had to be persevere through it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's I think so easy considered that if you're not ready, maybe the realtor's not ready either. And that's not necessarily true. Even if you're at the beginning of your process, there really isn't any time that we won't join with you. I mean, the only thing we ask is great communication back and forth.
Yes.
An honest, open relationship, because we can't help you if you won't let us help you. And yet if you allow that, it's a whole lot of fun.
It is. And
even when it's tough.
Even when it's tough. And I mean, Candace was on that journey for those ups and downs with us.
Yeah.
I mean, we laughed, we cried, we really did all of it.
Laugh, cry, pray.
Laugh, cried, pray. Absolutely. And then in the end, trust God, and He brought us to where we needed to be. And it is better than where we started.
Isn't that awesome?
So, yes, it is awesome.
The promises were fulfilled.
Absolutely. And through the whole thing He had given me, be still and know that I am God. Psalms 46:10. When I sent for the interview, it was be still and know that I am God. Do you know how hard that is to be still in 2.5 years journey?
Yeah.
But
very hard.
You get there.
Yeah. And you did.
We did, yes. We persevered it as a whole family, and now we're all established. And
your husband got a job.
And my husband got a job. It's been a year as well now. So
and he's loving it?
He does love it, yes. And the kids are settled. And
they're in their schools.
And they're in their schools.
And how many schools did they have to go through with living with your parents and then now into the house?
Well, actually, because we stayed in the same area,
okay,
it was in the same school. My daughter changed from up north to the school here, and was settled there. My son changed a couple times just because it's high school and just the dynamics and things.
Okay. So isn't that great that even the difficult stuff has turned out so good?
Yes.
Right?
And we give all the glory to God that He has brought us through this journey.
Yeah.
And now He's to use us as He sees fit and what His purpose was for us here.
And do you know that yet?
No, not exactly.
Okay.
Not exactly. I know that we're where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But as to what the next steps will be, we're just trusting in God, and we now know that He will get us there.
Well, that's right.
Because He got us this far.
Yeah. And it's interesting that just because it's not easy doesn't mean it's not right.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we think, because pieces of your journey were obviously miraculous. And like,
no doubt.
wow. And then all these stops that were really difficult.
Yes.
And perseverance had to be the key.
Absolutely. And even like when I was here by myself, I left for Christmas coming back with all my stuff in my van, honestly not knowing where I was going to sleep that night. But I knew I had to work on Monday. But the Lord opened the doors.
And you had somewhere to sleep.
And I did have somewhere to sleep, and he put the right people on my path that I needed at that time.
Isn't that cool?
Awesome.
So from the experience with the Dekker team,
Yes.
what do you want everybody to know? What do you want to leave them with that maybe you've had other real estate experiences,
Yes.
so you have things to compare it, like experiences to compare it to. What was different and what do you want people to know?
I want everybody to use the Dekker team.
Well, that's fun.
Well, no, but seriously, it came along with the journey. It wasn't just, let's get you this house. Or she could have said, all right, well, just take this one, right?
Yeah.
But it was always a very good relationship all the way through. Very knowledgeable. Candace says, well, let's try this, let's try that. Very knowledgeable in your area. Like God gives us all gifts and talents.
Yeah.
And real estate is by far the Dekker team's gifts and talents.
Right.
So I just encourage people to connect with you if they're buying or selling, because it is a good connection and a good fit, and you know what you're doing, and God knows what he's doing and works it all out together.
That's kind of cool, huh?
It is, absolutely.
And
I wouldn't change it for the world.
Isn't that great? Like, it's been so much fun to connect with you.
It has.
And now we're going to let everybody in on a secret. For Nina, when Candace suggested this, she was excited to do it because she really did have an incredible journey and experience with us. And Nina's never done anything like this before.
No, I haven't.
Never been on video. And I will never share that kind of insight at the beginning, because then you're watching for the discomfort and the nervousness and all those sorts of things. And yet, what a gift that you've given everybody today.
Well, I hope that this story encourages people. And, if you're in a difficult time on your journey, just persevere it. Just persevere. And God brings the right people upon your path to help you through your journey.
And so thank you for that. I love it. And we have an incredible property that is for sale that we want you to call us about, because this could be your dream home, just like Nina found hers. This one's on a few acres. Easy commute into the city, just outside the village of, or the town of Kempville, just outside of Osgood, Kempville, kind of in that little corridor, close to the 416, on a few acres. Beautiful space inside, and in fact has a loft area above the garage. So really nice for either teenager or sort of almost a separate living space, just a nice large bedroom there. So 3 in the rest of the 2-story home, and then a 4th one, which is a much larger space above the garage, like a great loft area, insulated, heated part of the house. Really nice family situation in terms of the kitchen and the eating area, really open and inviting. So if that interests you, give us a call. Thanks for joining us on the Inside Track.